on his way. Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Motherfucker, he's on his way.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for tuning in to Mountain Murders. I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Brand new year, Dylan. We are into our third year of Mountain Murders.
Wow.
220 episodes.
That's the crowd.
You'd think after a while we might run out of cases, but that's not true.
No, not because, it's all because of you.
We have a backlog of cases to get to, so 3 more years of podcasting.
Yeah, we'd like to take a quick second to thank all of our listeners, because if you guys weren't listening, we wouldn't keep doing it, obviously. And we would also like to thank our very special patrons.
Everyone who supports the show, thanks so much.
Yes, thank you.
You make it possible. Before we get started with today's case, Dylan, I have a very bizarre bit of news.
Okay.
Las Vegas police made a chilling discovery when they pulled over a man after he failed to make like a routine traffic stop. They kind of got into a bit of a chase with him. Maybe this explains why. Inside the vehicle, they found a severed head, legs, and a torso.
Okay.
Now, he admitted to stealing the truck.
But that's not my body.
That's what he's saying. On December 23rd, at about 3:42 p.m., patrol officers in Las Vegas tried to stop this man who was driving a truck when he took off. They chased him through the streets of Las Vegas, and they were finally able to track him down. They had to use the air unit.
So they just had to go all out to get this guy stopped.
Yeah, so they see the man get out of this Toyota Tundra. It has suspended registration. And he's trying to jump into like a gold Chevy Avalanche. That's how they were able to stop the driver. He flees a second time. Then they are able to chase him to an apartment complex. When they approach this guy, who is later identified as Eric Holland, age 57, he starts throwing various items at the officers, trying to get away from them.
Out the window?
Yeah, I guess. Like, here's a shoe.
Okay.
Like a McDonald's cup.
Here's
I have no idea.
Here's a half full Starbucks cup, you son bitch. Watch out.
This is when officers discover human remains in the bed of the truck. They find a black plastic trash bag with a severed head inside that was giving off a foul odor, according to the criminal complaint. Yeah, no shit.
Oh my gosh. Now, I knew this had to be something fairly extraordinary to stick out on the Vegas Strip. And it is. It's something out of something rather strange.
In this gold truck, police found coolers that contained 2 human legs and a human torso.
So are we missing the arms?
He seems to be the case, Dylan.
Okay, you know it's funny. People typically cut people up into what, 7 to 9 pieces? Isn't that right?
I believe so.
They hit all the major joints basically, and we actually watched you were watching a case earlier when I came home, a woman who murdered and dismembered
Snapped.
her very large husband.
I was watching Snapped.
Yeah, and I thought it was an ingenious way she got him out of the house.
It's very inspirational to me.
He was like over 300 pounds, big man, and she just rolled him.
Why do you think I was watching it?
Oh, wait a minute. I have to watch out, make sure there's no tarps around me, because she's laid out a tarp, rolled his big ass. He was a victim, so they rolled the poor victim, off onto the tarp and then tied it up with a rope and then pulled him out through the house and out of it with the truck. So I thought that was, I guess that's what happens when you fuck with a farm girl.
You're always telling me I'm a big-shouldered bitch, so you better watch out.
Yup.
So the police are investigating, and they have identified Holland as the suspect in the homicide. The victim was a guy named Richard Miller, who was 65 years old and was a resident of Las Vegas. They believe he died of multiple gunshot wounds.
And being cut up.
Probably died from the gunshot wounds and then was dismembered, Dylan.
Right.
Thank you for that.
You're not going to survive the dismemberment. I know that.
Yeah, probably not. So now the guy is in jail at the Clark County Detention Center. They have denied bail for this guy, Holland, and they believe that he committed murder. They're still trying to get more evidence. I mean, do we believe this is just some sort of hapless car thief who picked the wrong car, Dylan?
Well, I mean, it's not outside of, it's unlikely, but it could happen, right? Someone's already murdered someone, dismembered the body, got it in the back of the truck in plastic bags. You know, you're not going to go searching through the back of the truck before you steal it, right? And you just happen to steal the truck. It's almost like those poor people on cops who, like, when they pull something out of their pocket, they're like, these aren't my pants. You know, that's not mine. And you're just like, come on, dude. It's in your pocket, bro. You always know what's in your pocket, right?
Nope.
Is it, really?
Not always.
Is this your vial of crack?
Depends on if I wash those jeans or not.
Oh, yeah?
Have they been in the closet for the last year?
I have found stuff in my pocket. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, I never know. I find all sorts of shit in pockets that I'm like, oh, I thought I lost this. Oh, wow, it's my favorite lipstick. I haven't seen this for 2 years because it's in some obscure jacket that I haven't worn.
You ever find like $5 or $10 like
Yeah.
that, and you feel like you're rich because this is like money you didn't know about?
Fuck yeah. And then I go treat myself to like a $5 coffee.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I just feel like that would be some shit, and that's the kind of luck I would have if I was in trouble with the law, was running from the law, steal a car to try to get away. It would have a dead body in it,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
That's just
And,
par for the course.
and you're already a crook, so they're not going to believe anything you say.
And this guy, Holland, he's a prior felon in Nevada, California, and Texas. It'll be an interesting case to follow. Otherwise, I love the "that doesn't belong to me" excuse.
Look, I stole the truck, but I don't know where that body came from.
A wild story. Thought we should talk about it before we get started with today's Mountain Murders case.
I don't know what we're going to talk about.
You don't, Dylan, but I'd like to give everybody a bit of a trigger warning before we start today's episode.
Okay, I need to receive this trigger warning.
It does involve child abuse and child sex abuse.
Oh my God.
This is a case about a child, and it is very disturbing. I will float that out there through my research. I was very affected by this case, but it's an important story to tell. I think we need to get information out about it. If it's not your thing, that's fine. We'll talk to you next week. You can skip today's episode. Otherwise, we're going to get started. You ready, Dylan?
No, I'm gonna set this one out.
Okay.
I can't do that.
You want me to just do it by myself then?
I'm just gonna sit here and look at you somberly
Okay.
and be quiet.
Can I do this?
Let's go.
It was a late November evening, November the 9th, early November 10th of 2009, so a few years ago, that Mario Andrette McNeil was home on Washington Drive in Fayetteville, North Carolina, where he lived with the mother of his young child. 29-year-old McNeil had been using cocaine and drinking liquor when he started texting women whose numbers happened to be in his cell phone.
Okay, so he's trying to hit up like a booty call or something?
Sounds about right.
So he's high as hell, acting a damn fool.
High and drunk.
Okay.
I feel like no evening where you're sitting at home drinking liquor and using coke and texting women in your phone, that doesn't sound like it's going to go well for you.
No, unless you're single or something, maybe.
You're not going to do this from your baby mama's house?
No, you shouldn't do it from your baby mama house.
He began texting a woman named Brenda Davis who lived at the Sleepy Hollow Mobile Home Park. However, Brenda's phone was turned off, so she wasn't getting any of the texts. McNeil was also texting a second woman who lived in the trailer park. So by 3 a.m., McNeil was driving on Sleepy Hollow Drive, but the second woman had fallen asleep and stopped responding. So McNeil, who was looking for sex, hit up Brenda Davis again. But once again, Dylan, she didn't get the message because her phone is off. Fayetteville, North Carolina is where our story takes place today, so let's talk a little bit about Fayetteville. We've been there before when we discussed the Jeffrey McDonald case.
Oh, was that on the base?
That was on the base.
That was a crazy
That
story.
was in Fayetteville.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've been there before. It is located in Cumberland County, best known as home to Fort Bragg, a major U.S. Army installation. Fayetteville is by no means a small town. The population is around 500,000, about 526,000, making it the 5th largest town or city in the state.
Wow, I did not know Fayetteville was that big.
Around 41% of the population is African American. There's actually more African American residents than any other race. So it is a very diverse community. Although the economy is booming, with the Department of Defense being the county's largest employer, and there's also a thriving retail economy, unemployment remains higher in that area than other parts of the state.
Well, yeah, because unless you're doing something base related, it sounds like the only other jobs left are retail and service industry, which are typically lower paying jobs with no benefits.
Like a lot of communities across the United States, Fayetteville has an ongoing opioid crisis. Drugs are a problem in Fayetteville, as well as trafficking and the crimes that go along with drugs.
Now, it seems like you always have these shady goings on around bases. You ever notice that? I mean, hell, you was on a base, right?
Yeah.
So it always seems like the community.
Dude, the area of the bases where I've been stationed and of the bases and posts that I've visited, the surrounding areas are always super sketchy and shady.
Right.
And like the kind of place you might not want to get out of your car to pump gas.
I wonder why that is.
So I'm like, why is that? I mean, when I was at Fort Meade, just down the road is like the state prison at Jessup. So there's that. I don't know. In 2021, Fayetteville had 32 homicides, which was up 39% from the previous year. So robbery and drug-related motives are at the top of the list for those homicides. Many of the cases involve drug deals gone wrong or home invasions where drug dealers are robbed by other drug dealers.
Ooh, some stick-up boys.
So to say that Fayetteville is like a safe community would be a stretch.
So you have this sizable community. You have active drug scene, sounds like. Which
Very active drug scene.
doesn't surprise me because you got the base there with a whole lot of people that come in and out of the area. So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. And it sounds like, and with drugs always comes crime and violence, always.
Around 5:30 a.m., Brenda Davis, who was sleeping with her boyfriend, Jeroy Smith, woke up briefly for a few minutes when she thought she heard someone open their bedroom door. Brenda Davis fell asleep once more, but was interrupted at around 6 a.m. by her sister, 25-year-old Antoinette Davis. Antoinette had also been living in the trailer along with her 5-year-old daughter, Shaniya. Shaniya had only been in her biological mother's care for about a month, since around October the 9th. Shaniya Nicole Davis was born on June 14, 2004, to parents Antoinette and a man named Bradley Lockhart. The pair met at a party where they proceeded to have a one-night stand. Antoinette learned she was pregnant but didn't share the information with Bradley until his daughter was nearly born.
Oh, wow.
So this is one of those unexpected pregnancies. They're not together. They're not a couple. And dad doesn't even know a baby's on the way until the baby's almost here.
That would be that'd be a really tough situation on both sides, I would think. Not only does he not know he's going to be a father till last minute, which would be a surprise, and, because you need that adjustment period of time to thinking about having a baby, I think.
To mentally prepare yourself.
Right. Well, especially for the man, because the woman has the baby literally inside of her. She's doing plenty of preparation. And I know for me personally, it didn't seem real until the baby comes out, because that's when it's time for you to help, you to do stuff and things like that. But also this is a person I'm not with, right? This was someone we just hooked up. So that's probably not very good feeling. And then on top of that,
you're having a baby with a stranger.
Yeah,
essentially.
exactly.
Someone you don't know well at all.
Right.
And you've created a life together.
Yeah. See, gosh, that's why you got to be careful with just hooking up with people. I mean, seriously, I might sound like an old school marm or something, but you literally shouldn't have sex with anyone unless you are prepared to have a child with that person.
This is middle-aged Dylan.
Yeah, I guess
This is
so.
the advice of middle-aged Dylan and not 19-year-old Dylan.
19-year-old Dylan made poor decisions. I was drinking liquor and probably doing cocaine.
Looking through phone numbers of girls in your cell phone.
She used to call me on my cell phone.
You probably didn't even have a cell phone back then.
No, I didn't need no damn cell phone, bro. You know where I'm at? Pop by.
Doing coke
No.
in the bathroom?
No, God, no.
Okay. Well, Bradley was no stranger to tragedy. In 1999, his wife of 7 years, a woman named Vicky Sue Coleman Lockhart, was brutally murdered during a home invasion.
Oh, my God.
She was shot along with her 19-year-old sister. In all, 5 people were bound, gagged, and shot on March the 3rd of 1999 on Graham Road in Fayetteville. A friend named David Epps had received a large insurance settlement around $20,000, and some thugs thought they would break into the house and rob this man. His brother Joe Epps had rented this duplex apartment. So these 2 women were like just staying there. Like they didn't live there. Their names weren't on the lease. They just happened to be at this apartment. The money was in the bank, so the home invasion ended in this deadly shooting.
Yeah, did they really think they just had piles of cash there at his house?
Apparently. Thorsten Mullen and Tyrone Parker were injured during the shooting. The killers walked into the apartment around 1 a.m., tied the people up inside. One of the victims, Mullen, was able to untie himself and escape. Around 1:24 a.m., the police were called. The killers fled before discarding the gun. 4 men ended up being arrested, but only 2 were convicted in the shotgun killings, Vincent Thomas and Liddell Burkhalter.
So a couple of dumbasses there.
Right. So Bradley's wife of 7 years and her sister murdered during this home invasion.
Well, yeah. I mean, damn, how do you absorb that?
Bradley and Vicky had 3 children together who would end up residing with their maternal grandparents, the Colemans. Cheyenne, Bradley's older daughter, said her father wasn't really in their lives much, and she would say that Shaniya was raised by ex-girlfriends, another child's mother, and just by other people.
Ex-girlfriends? How's that work?
Well, I guess he's got the girlfriend. She's helping with the baby. They break up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like, I mean, I don't want to talk shit about Bradley, but it doesn't seem like he's the world's best dad.
He's not taking a very active role in his child's life.
Right. His 3 older children are living with his deceased wife's parents. He's got this baby girl that he's had with a stranger, this one-night stand, and it seems like maybe he's got a lot of help taking care of that little girl as well.
Well, yeah, thankfully for the little girl's sake.
Now, Byron Coleman, Vicky's father, offered to take in Shaniya because he was already raising Bradley's other kids, but was turned down by Bradley. So you've even got this man who is no blood relation to this little girl saying, my wife and I will help take care of her because we're raising her siblings.
Damn.
So the Colemans sound like good people.
Yeah, they sound like very good people.
Informal custody of Shaniya was given to Bradley. Antoinette was a drug addict who couldn't offer stability to their daughter. Bradley worked long hours at a construction job and was often out of town. So his sister Carrie, her name is Carrie Lockhart Davis, she actually helped take care of Shaniya a good bit of the time. Bradley had purchased a home in 2006, and so his home was definitely more stable for the child than what Antoinette could offer. Because again, she's a drug addict. She never really had a job. She never really has a place to live.
Yeah, and it's even, from Bradley's perspective there, whatever's best for the child is the best thing to do. If that is some other grandparents, raising them, then that's fine. That's what you should do. If it's even, it doesn't matter who. As long as the child's safe and well taken care of. I never judge people for however their situation works out. You know what I mean?
Well, and that's one reason why I guess I kind of don't want to talk too much shit about Bradley, because it does seem like he was trying. He did buy a house. He was working full time.
He has one of those jobs where he travels.
Long hours. He's gone a good bit of the day. Sometimes he's out of town. I mean, he's paying child support to his former in-laws who are taking care of his other 3 kids. I mean, it does seem like the man's trying, but maybe he wasn't exactly father of the year.
Well, that certainly doesn't excuse him on some of the choices he made, but it does seem like he's at least trying, and whatever's being done for the children is what's best for the children.
Dylan, we're going to go ahead, pause, take a quick break here from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. And we're back from our break, Dylan.
And yeah, cool.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, Shaniya has been described as a very sweet, loving little girl who is learning how to ride a scooter. She was called a good little helper around the house. She loved to play dress up and do girly things like fix her hair and play with Barbie dolls. Pink and yellow were her favorite colors. She was a kindergarten student at Morgantown Road Elementary School. And I have to say, Shaniya is like the cutest little girl ever.
Is she?
She's adorable. She's such a little cutie. Until fall of 2009, Antoinette had also, she had a son who was a year older than Shaniya named Cal that she, I guess, had custody of. Seemed like maybe she had him some of the time, maybe not all the time kind of thing, but definitely had more of a relationship with him than she did with her daughter. Antoinette struggled with drugs, unemployment, no steady housing. About 6 months earlier, she had reached out to Bradley asking if she could spend more time being a mother to Shaniya. Antoinette seemed to be doing better. She told Bradley she had a job and a place to live, a trailer that she was renting with her sister. Bradley was offered a chance to work out of town as a regional environmental safety manager on a construction project for a few months, which was money he needed. So, against his family's wishes, he allowed Antoinette to take Shaniya on what he considered a trial basis.
Oh, okay, so he has this out-of-town work. He's already getting help with Shaniya, but, it's his decision to make, whether they agree with it or not. If he thinks that her mother's doing better, every mother or father wants their child to be around the other parent if they're doing good. And, I kind of see where he's coming from to a degree.
Bradley's family, especially his sister Carrie Lockhart Davis, did not want Shaniya left in Antoinette's care. Not only had the child seen her mother inconsistently, but Antoinette had previous run-ins with Child Protective Services, including a case that was closed back in 2007 relating to Shaniya, and I couldn't find out details about what exactly that investigation had been. But there had been something.
Well, and
some type of incident.
And I don't think you can blame his family or the people around him or Shaniya for being apprehensive about her going back around her mother. I mean, if she has this track record of drug use, inconsistent, can't count on her, unreliable, all those things. I'm sure some criminal record comes along with that, possession at the very least, and things like that. And I don't blame them for being apprehensive either. But at the end of the day, you have the father, do whatever the father thinks best.
Cheyenne, Bradley's 17-year-old daughter, would be Shania's 17-year-old half-sister, had seen a cigarette burn mark in the corner of the child's eye, which Shaniya claimed her grandma had done while she was at Antoinette's house.
Okay. But, a child could run into a lit cigarette by accident. I will say that. It could be on the edge of the table. Someone could be sitting there holding it. They're running around doing what kids do and run into the cigarette. I've seen it happen, honestly. So what do you think about that?
Well, the child was often seen with bruises and burn marks on her arms after visits with her mother.
Okay. Well, this is not okay.
Yeah, I know that accidents happen to
No,
them,
but
I
not
think
over and
if they're
over.
consistent or cigarette burn, even if that was an accident, I would have a hard time believing. Yes, it could happen, but if somebody was like, oh, your child ran into my cigarette, I still probably wouldn't believe that.
Well, no, and then bumping into a cigarette and knocking the cherry out of a cigarette, yeah, they might get, burnt, if you would. But it's quite different than a cigarette being held to you to leave a permanent mark, right? So, yeah, now I'm getting pissed.
Later, Bradley would learn there had been a drug raid at the trailer, and neither law enforcement nor school employees who knew about it had notified Child Protective Services, though Shaniya and her brother were in the home at the time of this drug raid.
Yeah, see, it doesn't sound good at all.
What Bradley didn't know was that Antoinette had done very little to change her lifestyle. Though she did have housing, Antoinette wasn't working and continued using drugs. She kept unsavory company and often neglected the children. It was on October 9th of 2009 that her Aunt Carrie dropped her off at the trailer park. She gave the little girl one last kiss goodbye and told her how much she loved Shaniya. Shaniya ran off towards her mother, giggling and saying, "I love you too." And this would be the last time Carrie would see her beautiful niece alive. This story is very heartbreaking.
Well, I can see it's going that direction.
Now, according to court documents, Antoinette was frantic when she entered her sister's bedroom at 6 a.m. She told Brenda and Jeroy Shaniya was gone, asking if they had seen her. Then the three adults got up to look for the child. Brenda mentioned feeling like someone had come in the bedroom earlier and asked Jeroy if he had heard anything at the time. He didn't wake up. He didn't hear somebody. Now, I'm a light sleeper. If somebody opened our door, I would definitely know it.
Oh my God, if a gnat farts near you, you're like, huh? What was that?
I know, right?
Oh my God, I can never sneak out and sneak back in with you.
Never. Antoinette went outside to look for her daughter. So while Antoinette was in the yard looking around for the little girl, her 7-year-old son, Cal, tells his Aunt Brenda that Mario McNeil had been in the house. McNeil was recognizable and known to the child. Brenda had previously dated him. Concerned, Brenda pressed the child for more information. McNeil had actually been the person who'd lent the women $200 for the deposit on this mobile home. So again, he's someone that's known to these kids, known to this family.
Right.
Brenda sent Mario McNeil a text asking if he had been at the trailer, but he didn't respond. Jeroy Smith decided to call April Autry, who was McNeil's live-in girlfriend and the mother of his child, to see if he was with her. She informed Smith that she had not seen Mario since the day before. She has no idea where he is.
So would you? How disturbed would you be at this point if you were living there in that trailer, and you thought the door might have been open? That would have bothered me. Even if I'm not that light of a sleeper, but if it did wake me up, I don't think I would go right back to sleep. Of course, that's easy to say if you're not in that situation. But I think I would be like, who the fuck? Or, even if we're, say, okay, so it's just me, you, and your daughter in the house right now. If our door opened and shut while we were sleeping, I would get up and be like, what the fuck, what are you doing? Right? I mean, that would weird me out.
I would probably get up and check. That's just me.
Right.
Right? Yeah, I would definitely have a hard time going back to sleep. And especially if I felt like someone had opened my door and then I discover that a child in my home is missing.
Right.
Like, that's really going to fuck you up, right? By this time, Antoinette returned from knocking on the neighbors' doors. After some urging, Antoinette finally agreed to call the police around 6:52 a.m. Now, at first, she didn't want to call the police until her sister and sister's boyfriend were like, "You've got to call police."
Your child's missing, no matter what other relationship you've had with law enforcement or your drug use, or if you're high right now, or if you have drugs in the house, flush them, get rid of them, call the damn cops. I mean, that's the bigger deal.
The 911 call begins in an emotional frenzy, but soon the woman turns calm and collected. She tells the dispatcher when she woke up, her daughter was not in the house. She then told the dispatcher that Shaniya knows how to unlock the front door. When Brenda and Jeroy walk outside the trailer, they notice what looks like feces on the porch railing, like human feces.
Okay.
Yeah. They think this is very weird. They're not quite sure what's happened. And it's about 10 minutes later that law enforcement arrive at the mobile home park. Responding officers introduce themselves to Brenda and Jeroy. And as they're walking up into the mobile home, one of the officers notes the appearance of feces on the porch that looks like there's been some sort of a substance, water, like poured over it, as if someone had been trying to clean up the mess.
So it's noticeable. It's not just it's a noticeable thing.
Yeah.
This dew on the railing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as officers are walking up on the porch, they're noticing this. They see this water. Antoinette comes outside with a pot of boiling hot water, which she dumps again on this feces. And police are like, you need to leave this alone. This could be evidence.
Yeah, what are you doing? It's not cleanup time, honey. Okay? We're here to investigate the fact that your child's missing.
Strange, huh?
Yeah.
Antoinette will tell officers she last saw Shaniya around 5:30 a.m. when the child woke up. She placed the child on the couch with a blanket. Then when she got up at 6 a.m., Shaniya was gone. Since the residence was no stranger to law enforcement, they had been there on multiple drug and domestic violence calls. Officers were pretty immediately concerned about this missing child.
Well, yeah.
I mean, this was a house that's familiar to them. They've been there multiple times.
They raided it,
never,
right?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
never a good reason to be at this house, and now you've got a missing child. They're concerned.
Well, you can only imagine they've probably been there on the complaints of noise complaints, possible domestic situations going on between whoever's there hanging out, all kinds of drug use. I mean, they raided the joint, kicked the door in, and so I'm sure it's just your local yokels. You know, they know they're known to law enforcement, and I'm sure they instantly are like, "What the hell is going on?"
More officers are requested in order to initiate a search of this mobile home park. They brought in dogs, and then they went about questioning all of the registered sex offenders who lived in the area. Search dogs were unable to pick up a scent of the little girl, which struck law enforcement as odd, especially if the child had walked out on her own accord. It was like basically the dogs went to the porch, to the driveway, and then there was no scent.
Like, we can smell her, but she's not going off anywhere.
During the search, Brenda would receive a text back from Mario. They exchanged a few texts, with Mario stating he'd not been at the trailer. Believing that her nephew was confused, she dropped the line of questioning to continue in the search for her niece. She didn't mention to police what the boy had said. The adults were then taken to the police station for interviews. Investigators asked for a timeline leading up to the child's disappearance. Antoinette said she had no idea what had happened to her daughter or who might have taken her. She told authorities she put the little girl in Cal, which would be her half-brother's bed, around 5 a.m. when she woke up. Then around 6 a.m., Cal came into Antoinette's room saying that Shaniya was gone. That's when she had a look around but couldn't find her daughter. Now, this version is different than what she had told officers at the trailer park. Antoinette had claimed she had placed the child on the couch around 5:30 a.m. She hadn't mentioned anything about putting the little girl in the brother's bed.
Well, that's not good.
Officers noticed the discrepancy, but initially thought maybe it was just the confusion of an emotional mother. She's upset. It's been a hard morning. Her daughter's missing. Maybe she's confused on the details. They felt it was odd, but they kind of let it slide at the time.
Well, I guess that's a reasonable thought, too, as well. A lot going on. You know, maybe she was mistaken. Maybe she was on the couch and then she moved her to the bed, whatever.
An Amber Alert was initiated, and at this point, Fayetteville police, their main concern was finding this little girl alive. Forensic technicians worked to scour the trailer for any evidence which might help locate Shaniya, while officers searched the surrounding areas, the trailer park, the woods around the trailer park, but it didn't take long for a clue to be discovered. Inside a neighbor's trash can, and it was one of those outdoor cans, police find a blanket covered in feces.
Okay, another clue.
Antoinette recognizes the blanket as belonging to her, while Jeroy Smith said the blanket had been on the couch recently. It was described as a thick child's comforter. Now, this was a strange piece of evidence. Had the perpetrator assaulted the child prior to taking her, or did the child accidentally soil herself while she was being kidnapped, maybe out of fear? Or had there been an accident and her mom placed her on the couch as punishment? Like maybe she had an accident in the bed, mom put her on the couch.
Right.
It also seemed odd that the perpetrator had taken time to place it in the neighbor's trash can. I mean, did this person live nearby? Was it a neighbor in the park? It just brought up a lot more questions.
Well, if you're going to snatch the little girl up, I don't think you would take time to. They may find the blanket. It'd be more likely to find it discarded down the road or something than like placed in the
Or just
neighbor's,
left in the driveway or something.
just left in the driveway or left in the house, for that matter. because you have this child you're kidnapping, and that's the least of your worries is where this blanket goes.
Law enforcement decides to take a harder look at the Park residence and call for Antoinette to come back for a second interview to clear up the few contradictory details she'd given. By 5 p.m., Antoinette was being formally questioned for a third time. So during the short 30-minute interview, the woman came up with a different story. This time, saying her boyfriend, a man named Clarence Coe, had taken Shaniya.
So another totally different story.
The two had gotten into a fight, and this led to Coe striking the little girl in the face, seemingly by accident. And when Antoinette tried to intervene, Clarence took off with the child. She told him, told the police that she thought he would likely take this little girl to an area known as Murchison Road.
So why wouldn't you tell us this in the beginning? That'd be my first question for her.
Coe was quickly found by law enforcement. He denied having anything to do with Shaniya's disappearance. Since he refused to offer up any information about what might have happened, any of the details, police wanted to charge him with first-degree kidnapping. A spokesperson would later say Coe was arrested because an eyewitness from the trailer park had seen the man drive away with Shaniya in the car. However, even though they've got him, they're detaining him, they're going to arrest him, they still have no idea where Shaniya is. Her whereabouts are still unknown.
So it seems like all these people they're having to deal with in an interview here for this case and this investigation are not happy to be talking to cops in any capacity. They don't want to cooperate. They're kind of mad that you even bothered to, bother them with it. So, yeah, it seems like it's a wrong kind of crowd to actually get any good information out of from the law enforcement's perspective.
Yeah, don't we find that a lot when it comes to investigations, that certain groups of people, especially those who might have criminal backgrounds or having had dealings maybe negatively with law enforcement, they're involved in drugs, that kind of thing, they're usually pretty reticent to come forward to speak with law enforcement, even if they have valuable information.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like that, building that trust between law enforcement and the community is so important so that people can know, hey, even if I've screwed up in the past, I'm going to be taken seriously now.
Well, yeah. Well, you see that in court proceedings. As soon as they say someone's a drug user, like, oh, well, yeah, okay. Like they can't still have an opinion or have witnessed something.
Yeah, we see that
just because
often.
They use drugs, unless they were totally in a drug psychosis or blackout drunk, then I still give what they, their testimony some
credence.
Some credence.
Come on.
Yeah. Just because you got high or, whatever was on coke when you saw somebody do, XYZ doesn't mean it didn't happen. But, that just automatically discredits you.
Well, the media began spreading news of Shaniya's disappearance while police asked for information and explored any leads to find her. On the morning of November 10th of 2009, just before 6 a.m., a thin man with dreadlocks checked into the Comfort Inn located in Sanford, which is about 13 miles from the trailer park where Shaniya had been taken. The man entered the motel alone and asked the clerk if he could check into a room. He told her he was driving to Virginia with his young daughter, but she was asleep in the car. So he basically was like, look, I just need to check in this room to get a little bit of sleep.
Okay.
And then we'll be right out.
So just a little rest, maybe a shower, and I'm gone.
He checked into room 201. Then he left the motel and returned carrying a little girl bundled up in a blanket. The CCTV camera captured the footage. Around 6:30 a.m., the man who had checked in using the ID Mario McNeil walked to the breakfast area. He grabbed some juice, bananas, and muffins before returning to his room. It was about an hour later, around 7:35 a.m., that Mario was seen again by staff members, and it was captured once again by the CCTV, carrying a child over his shoulder. A maintenance man passed by Mario and said good morning, but Mario ignored him. And this wasn't unusual for guests to be unfriendly, but something about this just seemed off to this maintenance guy.
He caught the vibe.
He was like, something's not right here. Like, this man's carrying this little girl out. He's acting very unfriendly, a little peculiar. He's pretending to pick up some trash as he watches Mario place the child in the back seat of a car. He kind of follows them outside and is just watching them, pretending like he's doing work. Mario smokes a cigarette, then gets in the car, pulls around to the front of the motel. He goes inside and asks the front desk about his security deposit. Mario then left the motel around 7:40 a.m. A few hours later, housekeeping reported back to the front desk that they found a few small plastic bags in room 201 that they believed had cocaine in them. So that basically housekeeping reported to the front desk, hey, this person was in the room doing coke. We found all this evidence.
So this odd guy with the kids in the room doing drugs.
Yeah.
And you already got the maintenance guy. I was like, he's weird. Something's not right. Okay. Yeah.
On November 11th of 2009, the day after Shaniya was reported missing, one of the front desk clerks came into the Comfort Inn for a shift change. That's when the two women who worked there, the two clerks that are doing this shift change together, notice an Amber Alert on the motel's computer screen. One of the women immediately recognizes the child. She had been with the man the morning before.
Wow. Now, we all get the Amber Alerts, and it's typically nowhere near you. And I think it's got to where a lot of us kind of don't, maybe not ignore it, but like just, okay, cool. But to open one up and know for a fact you saw that child recently, that would kind of throw me for a loop. What about you?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh my God, what can I do? You know, yeah, call the cops. You know, maybe we can give him his information, make, model a car. So yeah, I would go into what can I do to help mode.
Well, that's exactly what these women did. They jumped into action. They were like, what can we do? They found a hotline, immediately call that phone number. Police jump into action on the tip. They show up to examine that CCTV footage and review the paperwork from the check-in. The room hadn't even been cleaned yet. Like, the housekeeping had gone in there and they were like, hey, somebody's done coke in this room, but they hadn't actually, like, cleaned the room yet. So they were able to start processing the room for evidence.
Nice.
This was an exciting piece of evidence for police, but there was still a problem. It didn't match the information given by Mom Antoinette. The man on the security video was not the person whom they had in custody for kidnapping. They already had Clarence Coe under arrest.
Well, I'm sorry, but Antoinette's given them 3 or 4 different stories. So, I mean, you just got to go with what you know, what you see, what the evidence says.
Shaniya had been missing for 2 days at this point. Police were able to reach Mario's mother, who handed over her son's cell phone, the cell phone number. An FBI agent was assisting with the case, and so they were able to obtain some warrants to examine Mario's phone data.
So now they can possibly triangulate, maybe get some location data off the phone, see who he's communicating with or who's communicating with him.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Brenda began to wonder if Antoinette was lying. Earlier, she'd been at her aunt's house with the family when Mario happened to drop in. So Brenda is already kind of like, what's he doing here? Right? She's with her sister. You know, her niece is missing. They're hanging out at family's house. Everybody's noticeably upset. And then here comes this guy, Mario. She thinks that's odd. Then she witnesses Antoinette and Mario engaging in some kind of altercation or like verbal argument. Antoinette told him, quote, I don't have shit to say to you. I want to know where my baby's at.
Ooh.
Mario said, all right, and then left right after. So this did not sit right with Brenda. And then she had remembered what her nephew Cal had said about Mario being in the trailer before Shaniya went missing.
I was going to say that.
So it's all starting to kind of add up in Brenda's mind, like something's not quite right. She confronts her sister Antoinette. The pair had an argument and parted ways, and it would be the last time that Brenda would speak to her sister.
Oh, really?
Instead, Brenda contacted detectives working the case to share what she had heard, along with Cal's statement. So she's like, look, I thought he was just being a kid, was confused. Here's what he told me, and this is what I witnessed.
Oh, yeah, the cops didn't even know about the child saying that they'd seen Mario in the trailer.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that now.
So hours later, Mario is tracked down by police, because they want to question him. Mario's car was seized, and forensic analysts began taking dirt from his tires along with other substances from inside the car. In the interrogation room, he finally admitted that he had been at the trailer park just after midnight, but claimed he had not been to Brenda Davis's house. He denied even knowing Shaniya. For several hours, Mario would continue denying any knowledge of the case. Finally, detectives pulled out that CCTV, the images, like some stills, and some documents where he checked into the motel. That's when Mario knew the game was up. There was no getting out of this with lies. So Mario admitted that he had been at the motel that morning with Shaniya.
Well, yeah, what can he say? How could you not?
So this is how his story unfolds, Dylan. He told the story about how he had gotten a text from Brenda Davis's phone asking him to come to the trailer park and pick Shaniya up from the front porch. He then took the girl to the motel where he used cocaine. He then got a text from a person saying to bring the child to a dry cleaner's, and that's where he handed her off to someone, presumably a relative, who was driving a Nissan Maxima.
Okay. Nothing about this story makes any sense.
No, it doesn't.
No, so you don't ask, why do you want me to come get the child? He doesn't have any more information on that. Why did you go to a hotel with the child? Could you have maybe done your drugs some other day when you don't have a child with you? Just all kind, and then you're randomly going to hand the child off to someone you don't even know, assuming that it's some family member or something. And by the way, I want you to meet me at a dry cleaner's. Okay? Oh my God, I'm getting pissed.
You're going to get more pissy.
I know. Jesus.
After this confession of sorts, detectives leave Mario alone in this interrogation room. Dylan.
While they're recording.
That's when he pulls out a car key and inserts it into an outlet in an effort to electrocute himself.
Nuh-uh. He tried to commit suicide by outlet?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It merely gave him a jolt, but was not enough to inflict serious bodily harm.
It's only 110, bud.
He was arrested and taken into custody.
So now this has got to investigate. They're already locking this guy for something bad, I'm sure.
Right.
Some kind of involvement in this little girl, obviously. He's the only person they've confirmed is with the little girl since she left the house. And now he tries to kill himself. So I'm sure they're like, what the hell? We need to get this guy to tell us what the real story is because we don't believe that bullshit he told us earlier.
He was arrested and taken into custody. Meanwhile, FBI and U.S. Marshals began a nationwide search. Theories circulated that Shaniya had been sold into a child sex trafficking ring. The cell phone records were helpful in showing timestamps and locations because remember, they had obtained a warrant to get Mario's phone records at this point. Mario's phone had been at the trailer park around 3 a.m., then at the Sanford Motel about 4 hours later. It also showed his movements. They were able to construct a search grid of areas where he had been in order to look for Shaniya. Detectives demanded another interview with Antoinette to clear up the inconsistencies in her latest story. If you remember, Clarence Coe had been arrested, and now they have Mario McNeil in custody. Detectives were tired of playing around with Antoinette, so they confronted the woman about lying, and they began showing her the photos from the motel security. Like, he had your daughter at this motel, we know you were lying, Clarence Coe didn't take her. So at this point, she has nowhere to go with this story.
Yeah, why don't you try telling us the damn truth, lady?
She finally admits that Clarence Coe had nothing to do with her daughter's disappearance. Police inform Antoinette that lying is punishable by up to 5 years in prison, and that's when she cracked. Antoinette admitted she had lied to law enforcement. She said Mario turned up at the trailer early on November 10th, and he was drunk and high. Mario demanded his $200 back, which he had loaned her for the deposit on the trailer. in order to rent it. He either wanted his $200 or sex.
Okay.
It makes me think of the little boys on the bike and Better Off Dead. I want my $2. So he's like showing up on his bike, like wanting his $200.
Yeah, so this asshole's shown up to get his money back, and she doesn't have the money, I'm going to assume, to give him. And don't say what you're going to say. I think you're going to say.
Well, Antoinette's next confession will make the most hardened true crime fan physically ill. The woman admitted that she'd given her 5-year-old daughter to Mario as payment.
Fucking bitch.
Antoinette said, quote, he was just supposed to have sex with her.
God damn it.
This arrangement would settle the debt. Now, as you can imagine, detectives were horrified and in a race to find this child alive.
Yeah, I mean, even a seasoned professional law enforcement officers, I'm sure they were just blown away by this. He was only supposed to have sex with my kid and bring her back.
Antoinette then changed her story once again, saying Mario was taking Shaniya to the motel to have sex with another man, but she didn't know his name. Police arrested Antoinette Nicole Davis.
Good. They should have honestly just beat the living shit out of her right there, dude. No due process. I'm not going to get started, but I'm just saying, from human to human, they should have just started. That's the one time you should be able to beat the shit out of a woman. I'm sorry. A mother. Okay.
I agree. A good tire iron to her
Yes.
jaw.
Yes.
Perfect. She was charged with filing false police reports, obstruction of justice, human trafficking, and felony child abuse prostitution.
Wow. They pulled out every single charge they could think of.
However, Shania's family still had no answers about her whereabouts. The searches continued for Shaniya. A wooded area near North Carolina 87 off Walker Road was heavily scoured by volunteers and search dogs. However, it was an area used by deer hunters, so there were a lot of dumped carcasses around, which made the search difficult, even with dogs. The following day, Mario's attorney called police and told them to look at a specific area near Spring Lake in Sanford, where there were some green porta potties. Volunteers sectioned off this area for another grid search. On that same day, Bradley appeared on CBS's The Early Show to plead for his daughter's safe return. It was around 1 p.m. on November 18th that a training dog from the Virgin Islands found Shaniya under a log.
Okay.
The area was scattered with animal carcasses and trash bags, which made it very difficult to find her initially. But once they had more specifics from the attorney,
Right.
they were able to find her. That night, a vigil was held for Shaniya Davis. Her cause of death had likely been suffocation or smothering, according to the medical examiner.
Okay.
On November 19th, Mario McNeil was charged with first-degree murder and the rape of Shaniya Davis. Mario McNeil had a history of violent crime dating back to 2001, including assault with intent to inflict serious bodily injury for shooting 3 people. He attempted suicide twice during interrogations, both times by sticking keys in outlets.
Dumbass.
The second time he did take his shoes off.
He's trying to ground. Okay. God, if only that worked. This guy's a freaking moron.
Police had over 3 hours of interviews with Mario, which were quite contradictory. A mental evaluation was ordered and found him competent to stand trial, though he was diagnosed with 3 personality disorders: narcissistic, antisocial, and schizotypal. McNeil didn't want to participate in the mental tests and denied being mentally ill at all. At trial, 357 tagged pieces of evidence were presented by the prosecution. McNeil didn't want anyone to testify on his behalf, even forbidding his attorneys from offering closing arguments.
Okay, yeah, you sound like you're totally got it all figured out, bud. You want to have sex with a child, but yeah, you're fine. No mental disorders here.
He was in conflict with his attorneys pretty much the entire trial and refused to follow their advice. Mario McNeil had other photos, not of Shaniya, but it seemed from reports just reading between the lines, of other young children on several of his devices.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me one bit.
It took the jury less than an hour to decide McNeil's fate. He is serving time at North Carolina Central Prison on death row because he was given the death penalty.
Nice. Too bad he's not already dead.
Antoinette Davis entered an Alford plea to second-degree murder, human trafficking, conspiracy, kidnapping, sexual offense, sexual servitude, and taking indecent liberties with a minor.
Whoa, they let him use the Alford plea? Okay.
Now, the Alford plea means that she is admitting the state has enough to convict her and is agreeing to be convicted for the crime, though she is not officially acknowledging guilt.
Oh, that was Antoinette.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So he was given the death penalty.
Okay, so this is Antoinette.
This is the mother.
Okay.
So she was given 21 years and 9 months for her role, and she's currently at Anson Correctional Institute. When Davis was arrested, she was pregnant with another child, and it was placed into foster care. Antoinette had the audacity to tell the judge, Jim Emmons, quote, "I'm a good mother." And he tersely disagreed, saying, quote, "You could have saved your daughter's life. You did not. You had time, opportunity, and means to save Shaniya's life. You did not. You are not a good mother."
God, what is wrong with you to even say that, lady?
But that is not the end of this tragic story. Bradley Lockhart's son, Chavez Lockhart, who was Shaniya's 20-year-old brother, died in a shooting in 2018 in Hoke County. 2 teenagers were arrested and charged with his murder.
My God.
He was found shot in his vehicle.
So just more tragedy for the family.
Right. So Bradley Lockhart has lost his wife, his sister-in-law, his daughter, and now his son.
So I've got to say, Bradley, his family was right. I mean, they were apprehensive about Shaniya, going with Antoinette back into her care for obvious multiple reasons. And they could never imagine this, I'm sure. Or Bradley either, certainly. And but they were right. The little girl should never went back. And I'm sure he had to live with that decision.
Yeah, it's really a very troubling case. But Dylan, it's like I've been in situations where I've known relatives or friends, and they may have been, I'm not going to say in a similar situation like this, but there might be kids involved or something, and you try to give them advice like, this is what you should do, maybe you should do this, and they often don't take the advice, and they want to do what they think is best, right? I mean, and I think we're all like that to an extent. We want to have faith in other people. I mean, Bradley, I think, wanted to believe that Antoinette had changed her ways, that maybe she was going to take on an active role, be a mom to Shaniya. I'm sure it was beyond anything he could have imagined that something like this would happen. I think none of us want to believe that human beings are capable of this type of behavior.
Oh, yeah, you're certainly right. And it's easy to, Monday morning quarterback this scenario. And it is typical, like I said earlier on, for the man or the woman to hope that the other person's doing better, or the other parent is going to try, and that you want your child to be around the other parent. Typically, and you try and you keep trying, hoping this person's going to change their ways. We see it. We see friends deal with this. Maybe we've dealt with it in our I've dealt with it in my personal life before, and and certainly it's easy to look, hindsight's 20/20, but it's very unfortunate that.
I guess you just have to take it like this. If you're in a situation and you've got multiple relatives or friends telling you like, this is a red flag, don't do this, don't let this happen, I have a bad feeling about this. Even if you think you know what's best, sometimes maybe it's good to take other people's advice because they are on the outside looking in. They're not as invested in the situation as you. And sometimes maybe you are in the situation with like blinders on.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so maybe it is a good time to pause and listen to other people because they might be seeing things that you're not.
Yeah, and they certainly would have stepped up and
say that in such an eloquent way.
Helped with Shaniya. They'd been helping with Shaniya, so they certainly would have done it and taken her full time, I'm sure. no problem there. But yeah, I mean, this is just a horrible tragedy all the way around. I think Antoinette should be on death row as well.
I agree.
I don't care what the law
She's
says.
a fucking terrible person, and I hope every day of her life in prison is horrible.
Yes,
Miserable.
I can't imagine when this story got out, because it always gets out. People want to know what's on your papers. And in this area, I'm sure this was a huge story, that the other women in prison with her are not going to be fans of hers. And maybe they're kicking the shit out of her just like they did Susan Smith.
She needs the shit kicked out of her. And Mario McNeil, yeah, he's
Dead.
a shitbird.
He's beyond even a shitbird.
He's the reason why the death penalty is a good idea, in my opinion.
Yeah, but out with all these humane methods. Let's just cut these people up. Take one piece at a time. Death by 1,000 cuts.
This little girl was so precious, Dylan, and she's been described by so many as a little angel, and she looks like a little angel. And how somebody could look at this little girl and hurt her, I don't get it. She's precious.
Yeah, I don't get that type, or I just don't get pedophilia, period. There's none that's okay. But the little kids thing, like I said, I'm not advocating any of it. None of it's okay. But I just don't. It's got to be a mental disorder. You know, there's some of these people are pedophiles have come publicly stated that I have these urges. I can't control it. I'll do it again. You know, keep me away. You know, there's been cases of pedophiles wanting to be chemically castrated before they're released from prison, things like this. So they don't have these urges. They don't want, some of them do not want to offend again. But obviously a lot of them just, go with these urges when they have them, every opportunity they have. And it's disgusting. I mean, it's disgusting. And I seriously, child rapists and killers, it got to have a special place in hell.
Well, after this case, there was some attention brought forth because law enforcement, the school system, had failed to contact social services about that drug raid with the kids being in the house and all that. It did sort of change the way the county was handling these sorts of things. I know they made some changes with the child protective services, with law enforcement, the way they're handling some of these cases, informing parents. If a drug raid were to happen, they inform the other parent, that sort of stuff. So it did bring about some change in this community. Still just such a sad story and so senseless. I thought it was important for us to talk about the singer J. Cole from Fayetteville wrote a song about Shaniya. And Shaquille O'Neal actually paid for her funeral. Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, and they did drop the ball to a degree there. You think even if now if they I guess if they raid the place, they have to have a good reason for that. You got to get search warrants and all that. So you already got to figure something's going on there that kids shouldn't be around. And then you kick the door in and you see multiple, children in the house. I would assume the next step is to call Child Protective Services, and those children either go into the care of someone else in the families or into foster care.
Dylan, I think that's typically been the protocol, but from what I understand, just having done a little bit of research with this drug epidemic, this opioid epidemic in particular that many states are facing, many communities, it seems now that when they raid a house, find drugs, that used to be like an automatic, we're going to remove the kids from the home, we're going to take these steps. It's become so prevalent. They don't have enough foster care. They don't have enough help that they leave kids in these terrible situations.
Yeah, well, that's a great point. I didn't think of the logistics, but that makes sense, I guess. To a degree, these systems are overwhelmed because these abuses and these problems are at epidemic levels. So that's a great point you made.
Yeah, I mean, I've been reading up on how that's not so uncommon these days. Because before in the past, if you got arrested and you had your child, you had drugs, they were going to take your kid. Nowadays, they just, it's kind of like, whatevs. They don't really do a whole lot about it. Just sad.
Well, and I
'cause
mean,
they're
if
doing a disservice to these children.
it could be that child, or the cops know that there's nowhere to put the kid. There's no foster care. Everything's overrun and the systems are at their breaking point. And I mean, that could.
Well, and a lot of times with these small towns, when these people are known to law enforcement, they know the whole family is a piece of shit, and there's probably not a relative to place the child with either. So,
Well, there's that.
because you got like a whole family they sound like they're all shitbirds. So,
Jesus.
I don't know. It's really a sad story, but I thought it was important to talk about, try to keep Shania's memory alive. And just, before you go to bed, give your kids an extra squeeze tonight.
Yeah, and well, no one can hurt Shania now, so at least that.
All right, Dylan. Well, that is episode 220, and we'll be back on Wednesday with a brand new Offbeat.
Yeah, let's do it.
Do you have any thoughts, feelings, comments,
No,
intelligent things to leave our listeners?
your story made me really sad.
Yeah, it was really sad.
But that's okay. Those are important stories, and they need to be told as well. I agree with you 100%. Poor little Shania. Like I said, no one can hurt her now. So she's in some different plane of energy, seeing spectacular things or being part of something we could only imagine.
That's a good way to think about it, Dylan.
Oh, but I must say again, on our 3rd year anniversary, thank you, listeners. It's all about you. Every time y'all tune in, we love it. You help us out. And I'd like to thank the patrons again because you have a special place in my heart because you give us some of your money.
If you would like to help the podcast, a free way to do that is hit subscribe wherever you listen. Leave us a 5-star review. That kind of helps keep us relevant in the podcast world. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We do post quite a bit on Twitter and Instagram. Those are probably the best ways to keep in touch. Follow us. You can always drop us an email, mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com. Or if you want to support the show by joining us at Patreon, it's patreon.com/mountainmurderspodcast. Dylan, I'm so glad to be back here in the podcast studio with you.
Oh, man, it feels good to be back.
It does. 2022, brand new year, a brand new year of podcasting, all the true crime cases, the fantastic offbeat topics that we're just gearing up to jump into. It's just,
Baby.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
You know what? To celebrate our 3rd year anniversary, I'm going to try to talk Heather into doing a tipsy episode released here in the public, and we'll see if that comes together.
Oh, yeah, you want to do a tipsy episode?
It's been a while.
We can do that. Yeah, we can do that.
Okay.
Okay, guys, we hope you have a great week.